Yeah, I got that right turn. We're good.
Let's meet up at the compound group up.
At 10-4. Yeah, for sure, dog. Good, little driver, straight on through.
When it's time to recover and paint your fabric-covered aircraft, look no further than AirTech Coatings. Since 1982, our FAA-approved system provides you with a shiny, durable, easy-to-apply product. The AirTech system has fewer steps than any other product on the market today, saving you both time and money. While using cutting-edge technology, we offer a wide range of products. Whether it's for work, play, antique, or aerobatic, we have you covered. Remember, we make paint fly.
What's up, Av Geeks and STOL Freaks? This is Ryan Dabrowski in the studio. Welcome to Wayne America 2023. So exciting to be here. We're getting ready for some practice before tomorrow's and Saturday's main event. I'm joined by the beautiful and vivacious Corey Robin. Corey, hello. It's good to hear you, buddy.
Oh, man, I am so happy to be here in Wayne, Nebraska. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, I am good. I'm sorry and kind of impressed that I'm not there for the action, watching these aircraft taxi by already. It's getting my heart pumping.
Yeah, Ryan, the energy is picking up. These pilots, some of them started to arrive on Tuesday, and we've been having practices on and off again all week this week. The dedication and the skills are increasing, and we expect a fantastic competition this weekend and an excellent practice session today.
So just looking at for folks at home, we've got some people already taking up. I'm not mistaken, that is Abrams and Piper Zilla off runway 13 at Wayne Municipal. And Corey, talk a little bit about the conditions today.
You know, it's beautiful right now. The wind, is right down the runway right now for the STOL competition, or the STOL practice, rather. And we've got a lot of newcomers today. Almost a record-breaking turnout for Wayne and for National STOL, so we're really excited. Beautiful, partly cloudy skies. We're looking at, maybe about 80 degrees. I don't have a temperature gauge in front of me, but it could not be a better day to get in your bush plane or whatever you brought and take off and land short. We're excited. Are you excited?
Hopefully everyone in the crowd is excited. I saw something up my screen just now. It's forecast hot and dry.
Just a few minutes here. The beautiful grass here in Wayne. What an epic location for a STOL competition. Right smack dab in the middle of the heartland of America here in Wayne, Nebraska. So excited. We've got another Carbon Cub passing in front of the cameras here. The Air Boss is getting ready. Everybody's getting charged up.
Carbon Cub crafters in the aviation news this week. Purchase option I was very tempted to do that. Exciting to see them do everything they're doing and innovating in the field. So be cool to see that. Check that out if you've got dollars to spend, I guess. Not a sponsor, not an endorsement, just kind of a cool news item. And look, I'm looking at my screen here. We've got a whole bunch of different aircraft getting ready to practice today. I'm seeing a red touring class competitor. Probably in the rookie class, looks like Alan Hewitt in a 1957 Cessna 172 right there. Alan in that red Cessna 172. He mentioned in his sheet, we asked people if they have any sponsors. He said his wife's Social Security is one of his sponsors. So it's going to be exciting to see him take off in just a few minutes for this practice session as he competes later this weekend in the rookie class. Okay, so practice is about to be underway. Let's talk a little bit about the rules. Today, again, a practice session so everyone can get comfortable, feel safe, be ready to go for tomorrow and Saturday. But let's talk about National STOL and what that is as you watch it tonight. So basically, this is your spot landing competition that you might do if you're a pilot at your home airport. Except it's turned up to 11. It's based on backcountry flying. So let's talk a little bit about how that looks. You can see on the camera right now, or if you are in Wayne, lucky enough to be in Wayne right now, you can see that there's a white line painted across the turf runway, runway 13 here in Wayne, Nebraska. Pilots will taxi up to that line and get a go-ahead from our line judge. They'll apply the full throttle, that everything their aircraft can give them, and they will take off as short as possible. And we have line judges and cameras that measure that distance. We take that takeoff distance, we put it in a little spreadsheet, we hang on to it for a little later. They go up and do a very safe traffic pattern. We have air bosses watching the whole thing, maintaining separation, making sure everyone is safe, and they come in for their landing. Now, it's not a slow flight competition, but it is a short landing competition, and you'll see pilots come in and they want to land as close to that line as possible without landing before it. Sometimes you'll hear announcers like me and Corey talk about how on the carrier, right? Flying in the backcountry, you maybe don't want to land in the river. You want to land on the sandbar, right? So this is simulating that. They want to land on the line, not before it. We oftentimes have pilots landing exactly on that line. The accuracy of this competition can be insane sometimes. So they will land as close to that line as possible, heavy on the brakes, stick full back, aerodynamic braking, whatever they can do to get her stopped. And as soon as they're stopped, we take the measurement from where they stopped, add it to that takeoff distance that I mentioned before, and now you have your composite score. That score is just for that round. And at the end of the day, we take the best score per round. So you're already thinking, you're sitting there in Wayne right now and you're seeing the wind blow. Well, what if it's gusty one round and it's not gusty the next? Sorry, that's just how it shakes out. This is real flying, real conditions here. So that's how it works in a nutshell. We'll get into some of the more minutia of judging as the competition proceeds. Little things like, well, what happens if they have the ground loop? You might be wondering. Well, a ground loop we measure from the wheel that is furthest from the line, the main wheel furthest from the line. Pilots are also separated in various classes. You're going to see a lot in Wayne in the touring class. The touring class are the airplanes that you maybe learn to fly in, or I hope you become a pilot, and I encourage you to become a pilot. Maybe you're going to learn to fly. You might learn to fly in one of these touring planes. There are also a lot of the heavies in this class. When we talk about planes like the Cessna 205, the Cessna 180s, we've got Matheson Fraser coming in from Canada in a Cessna 180. You'll see him the man to watch in touring right now in his gigantic Cessna 205 is in the touring class. But you also have people like Jeff Abrams and their Piper Cherokee. You've got Cessna 150s also competing there. And hopefully we're going to see crowd favorite Warren Grobelar in that tennis ball green Cessna 180 practicing today. I don't know if he's in yet, but we'll see that. Then we also have the rookie class. This is a low, and we've got action now. We've got some pilots taking off. There we go. First takeoff of Wayne, the exciting practice today, Thursday in Wayne. So other classes, we've got the rookie class, just a low stress place for people to learn the ropes and get to know what's going on. Once you win the rookie class, you cannot be a rookie anymore. And then we have the backcountry class, which is more of your Huskies, your Cessna 170s, the 170Bs, the 170 Mafia, as they like to be called, are in that class. And then we've got the adventure class, more of your classic bush pilot class, like Super Cubs, Legend Aircraft, the Badlands Traveler, kind of a weird airplane. You're going to see that later. Kit Fox, Unlimited, Anything Goes, and Sport. We've got Aaron Greer flying in the Sport class this year in his Highlander, Brian Moore in a S7S Courier. So that's kind of the full spread. By the way, Sport class, chock-a-block this weekend. You're going to see lots of heats. Colin Kaniva, Gary Varga, Jimmy O'Neill hot on the circuit this year. Justin Tisdale, the rookie. Nick Ardillo, Rick Boardman, people that were in Outlaw STOL in the desert just a few weeks ago. They're all going to be at Wayne competing.
All right, Ryan, it seems like I'm back.
Good to have you back.
Yes, and that beautiful Piper taking off. Here we go. Man, this is just going to be such a great practice today.
Oh, I can hear the growl of that one all the way here in the studio. And he's off.
Okay, here comes our first short landing of the day. Now, this is Kathy Page. Brand new aircraft to her, her first competition in it. Let's watch Kathy as she makes her final approach. Right now, she's managing her energy. She's trying to find that perfect balance between energy management and getting that airplane to stop. Here she goes. Little bit long. Looks like Kathy's still used to those high density altitudes in Arizona. It's going to take her maybe a couple of takeoffs and landings to get used to this swamp, thick air in Wayne, Nebraska. Dang near sea level here. Density altitude's probably about 2,000 to 2,500 feet today, so pretty low, pretty thick, good clean air. Winds right down the runway. Getting a good shot of Eric Farewell playing line judge today right there on the left of your screen. That was a beautiful landing. About 125 feet on that rollout. Beautiful spacing against that Nebraska sky today. Now here comes one of the heavier airplanes in our practice session today. This is a 172 Cessna. And it's just so much fun to watch these guys bring in these big certified airplanes and compete. Built way back in 1957, piloted by Alan Hewitt. Here he goes. It's not a scratch, but he went way long. Everybody's feeling the thick air. These airplanes are staying aloft. Here we go. You can see the landing lights on that low wing Piper coming in. This is not a traditional STOL airplane, so these are super fun for me to watch because these are the airplanes that just about everybody can get into and learn how to fly in, and then you can bring them to a STOL competition. How fun is that?
Yeah, super accessible aircraft. And I just want to point out for Alan Hewitt in that 172 rookie class, that might have been his first landing in a STOL competition environment that we just saw there.
That is amazing. Here we go. Beautiful landing. Getting on the brakes. You can kind of see the grass kicking up from those rear wheels where those rear brakes were locked right up. Beautiful first landing for his practice session today.
Jeff Abrams in that Piper Cherokee. We talk about him a lot. He's a heavy hitter in the series. Formerly a UPS pilot, 25 years at UPS as a pilot for them. Ratings up the wazoo. Jet aircraft, helicopter. He's got the Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award. He's everything that all the other competitors should be shaking in their boots for. And what he can do in that Piper Cherokee is incredible.
Absolutely, and it's just such a treat to have all these guys come out here to Wayne, Nebraska and play with us here at National STOL. Oh, look at that beautiful approach. Very stable. The air is nice today. You're not seeing these pilots have to monkey around and jockey these airplanes around. It's just great. Beautiful landing there. I'm still working out a couple of technical difficulties getting my information on my screen, so I'm working on that, Ryan. But we'll get there, brother.
Not mistaken, that was Ty Burlingham in a 1967 Cessna 180. Professional pilot from Oregon. Started on helicopters in 2006. And look, I just love watching the way all the airplanes taxiing now, kicking up the dust. I know there's been a little rain in Wayne. Rain in Wayne. Such a dad. There's been a little bit of rain in Wayne today, but in general, conditions look very dry. We've got a lot of dust kicking up as everyone taxis by, and I just love to, I don't know, gets me excited to see that.
If you need this for her, just turn it on there.
Yes, excellent, Ryan. You got it absolutely right. Here comes Kathy Page lining up for her second practice session of the day. Getting that cockpit closed and on the screen, a beautiful Cessna. Is that a 180 or a 185, Ryan?
I was just looking at that. That, I believe, is a 180.
Excellent. Okay, waiting for a go from our line official, Lacey. Here we go. Kathy.
And Corey, I was talking to the crew from Steve Henry's crew chief a while back, and he said that the Cubs that have that belly pod, it actually provides aerodynamic advantage for them. So that's, if you want to like Google that later, folks, so you can talk about these belly pods and how they actually reduce the drag based on the complex aerodynamics. I don't know if I buy it, but that's what I was told. Very exciting to see. Whoa, that was a short one.
Yeah, that was a beautiful takeoff. Those Carbon Cubs sure perform well. Had a great morning this morning. We took about 8 or 9 airplanes out, landed on some sandbars. Had a great time this morning here in Nebraska. Here goes the 172.
And he's off. Nice. Keeping it in ground effect there, keeping it floating off. One of the big things that happens in the Cessnas is we have to talk about what happens with the flaps, right? So I have a Cessna that I fly. I'm not a cool bush pilot like you, Corey. I've got a Cessna that I fly that has electric flaps, and that can be a real disadvantage in STOL flying. And so I'm curious about Alan's 172. I believe it's old enough. It should have manual flaps. That being able to modulate those flaps aggressively is kind of a key part of bush flying. So I've been told by experts like you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When it comes to being able to control your aircraft, we don't necessarily like the electric flaps or anything that is slow. Because, you know, in STOL, it's almost a dance. You know, you'll see a lot of these pilots working in that cockpit, and you'll see them doing things like dumping the flaps on landing, which means putting your flaps up very quickly. And when you have electric flaps, it just happens much more slowly. So you're right, Ryan. You are absolutely correct. Having manual controls is the name of the game in the backcountry. And that's why a lot of these aircraft are actually quite simple. In the backcountry, the best thing to do is have the world's easiest airplanes to fly. Now let's watch Kathy Page as she does her practice landing. Beautiful, and perfect example of dumping the flaps there. You see, as soon as she wanted, as soon as she knew she had made that line, she immediately raised those flaps. And boy, Kathy, doesn't she have a beautiful brand new airplane?
I can see it. I can see it all the way from Wisconsin. It's so bright.
Now, Ryan, you can't see this on these cameras, but maybe one of the camera guys can hear me. There are actually people here watching this practice session. I can actually see Sarah Henry has made it to the show. She's over there with Josh, and he's pointing over here looking at something. Hey, guys, how are you? If you guys want to come over to the booth, we have plenty of time if you guys want to do an interview. There they
Josh
are right there on camera.
Josh was the one who was telling me about the belly pod being aerodynamically advantageous.
Absolutely.
And he would know. He writes for Flying Magazine and everything.
Absolutely. Now here comes that beautiful 1957 172, one of the staples of general aviation. I know so many people who have learned to fly in this aircraft.
A little bit of a balloon there and kind of a plop down, but it's not about passenger comfort today. He does have to actually stop, though, if he wants to be scored, but maybe making some room.
And, that's normal for the backcountry. You want to get on the brakes, and so having a positive contact with that surface allows you to get on the brakes quicker. It's not about being gentle with your airframe. That's why we put these big shocks on our airplanes. You can see Kathy Page and all the Carbon Cub there. They have these big, beautiful shocks by Acme Aero on there. Here comes the Piper in for a landing. Gorgeous. Now that was a smooth one, Ryan.
I mean, if you've been flying for UPS for the last 5 years of your career, I assume you'd be able to grease it on. He really buttered that bread.
That's a good one. Oh man, I wish you were here.
My business partner calls it shaving the legs. Really shave the legs on that one.
Ooh, smooth.
There's Ty Burlingham. That looked close. Heavy on the brakes. Got that yoke all the way back. That airplane's nickname is the Red Wagon.
And a beautiful wagon it is. Okay, we're going to be ready for the third practice session. I just can't get enough of this. One of the things I love about those Cubs is they are such a versatile aircraft in the backcountry, but that's true for almost all of these aircraft. Here's Josh here live in the studio. Oh, look at that beautiful red wagon there.
It's hard not to want one of those. Okay, here goes Kathy off the line. pretty short performance there. She's getting used to things there in Wayne. We're excited to see what happens with her this weekend. And I'm just scrolling through the competitor list, and it is deep. You're going to see some real heavy hitters of STOL competitions here, including, but not limited to, Dan Reynolds coming fresh off of Valdez. Hal Stockman, who we didn't get to see at Outlaw, should be there this weekend. Steve Henry. Speaking of Steve Henry, you've got someone kind of important to him sitting right next to you in the booth there. They're taking selfies.
I didn't know we were on camera, Ryan. That's funny. So I'm here with Josh. Let's do a quick little interview. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing well. Though I can hear myself, so we're doing great. So,
yeah.
How you doing out there, Ryan?
Hey, I'm doing great, Josh. It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well. Thank you. Thank you for being here under the comforts of your own home, I believe. This is fantastic. I want a camera on you. That's what I want to see.
He does have a camera on him. I'm sure our audience can see that. But what's new this year for Team Yeehaw?
Well, we have an all-new plane.
All new.
Yeehaw 8, with the a couple of different changes. We've got the Yamaha Highlander Yamaha-powered Highlander XL, just aircraft Highlander XL, or Wild West XL. It's 2 feet longer, so it looks more like a Cub, kind of that kind of length there, and kind of fits more the motif of the bigger size planes. It is a bigger plane, a little bit heavier, but with the control surfaces, it's easier to control, and Steve is loving it, saying it's the best plane he's ever flown.
Wow. That is fantastic. So give me a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes. What is it like to be a crew chief for a madman like Steve Henry?
Well, madman like Steve Henry, that's a good question. You've seen videos and you've seen people talk about, the Paities and the way their work ethic and the way they are, and lack of sleep. Let me say that's one of the brothers. I'm not going to say which one it is, but he's like one of those brothers where he doesn't sleep much. He doesn't. He just works. He, when he's got a project in front of him, he's obsessed and he just can't stop on it. And so I have tried to keep up, and I told him when he gets my age, then he's going to learn that he can't just work like that all the time.
Now, that's kind of funny, but so. When it comes to building aircraft, how is he winning everything that he does?
Well, I don't want to mess up and seeing this beautiful Carbon Cub come in here.
Now the wind conditions are being a little bit more light and variable right now. I'm starting to see some thunderstorm activity in some of these clouds, so we might start to see some gusty winds challenging these pilots a little bit.
It is raining right now, I'm
Yeah.
being told already. We saw the clouds coming in, Steve. We got the plane ready for him to go fly right now, and then we just kind of decided against it, and we just kept it tied down, and I'm glad we did. Here comes the wind some more, and a little bit of precip as well. But to
Yeah, it
answer your
looks like you
question,
guys have a cell about, I don't know, handful of miles to the west of you right now.
Oh, yeah. We were showing 6 miles a minute ago, but that probably moved really quick. We watched these storm clouds close. It was blue skies just 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, the winds are definitely picking up. We've got a squall line heading right for us, and we'll cover it live. We'll just keep on flying until we can't fly anymore. And then when we're done flying, we'll figure out something fun to do.
That sounds great.
We're bush pilots. We're used to calling audibles. Look at this Piper coming in. This is so fun watching it.
Oh, he is awesome. He is awesome. We've got Kevin over here, Kevin Quinn, describing the clouds behind us with sign language that the cell is dumping behind us. So I bet it's coming.
Absolutely.
But to answer your original question, what makes Steve so good? It's a lot of little things. Work ethic, I'm going to say, is a big part of that. Another thing is like, for example, in the last couple of years in STOL drag, or last year or so at least, nobody's been able to get near him in what he's doing. So but instead of just just resting on his laurels. He continues to drive forward, continues like, we got to make this better. We got to make this better. You know, part of me says, we got to make this better. Why? And he's like, because it can be made better. And so he's teaching me that. We got to make it better. And it's a lot of little things that are changed to the plane. People say, well, the secret is that engine. But that engine does not help in traditional STOL when you're coming in for a landing. It does very little for him. So it's all those little changes that he makes. And I'm seeing the wind pick up dramatically here right now. Looks like these guys might be landing, huh?
Yeah.
Heavy crab angle on approach there.
Yeah, he got a gust on about an eighth of a mile final, and it was a major gust. So we're going to stop here for a minute, the flying. I don't know if these pilots want to go again. We'll see. But going back to Josh and talking about Steve Henry just for a moment, all you newcomers that are hungry and you want to win, we just gave you the recipe.
Yeah, yes.
That is the recipe. You have to, basically what I'm hearing you say is Steve is constantly competing with himself.
He is.
He wants to constantly do better and better and better. And he's pushing.
Yeah, you know, when I say, you know, who are you trying to beat? You know, who are you going after? And it's basically, it's not about that. It's not. It says that it can be done. If we can do better, we keep trying. And I'm like, you know, you'll put a lot of work into gaining 1 knot by this device that you come up with, right? And it's like, it's not worth the work you put into it. But at the same time, then he puts that same amount of work into 10 other items, and now you got 20 knots.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, here's Micah lining up. This is a whole new group of practice pilots. Rocking it out.
Yeah, Michael Lindstrom,
Yep.
famous on TikTok.
Yeah, he is such a fun person to follow on social media, right? Just
He
a
is.
great character,
He's young
great,
enough to just not care.
yeah, great skill set. Just a fun guy.
He really is. He really is. And
Look-
he likes yoga
So
pants.
Yep.
he does like yoga pants. Gentlemen, I had a question for you, maybe for the viewers at home. When you've got weather like this, just a few miles away, obviously, as pilots, we know what that can do and what the risks are, what the challenges might be for the pilots. But could you guys talk a little bit for folks at home who are seeing these clouds roll in, these rain cells come in, what the challenges might be for the pilots as they practice right now?
You know, the biggest thing is the shifting nature of this weather system that we're having right now. We can, just in the last few minutes, we've probably experienced a 10-degree temperature drop. That's indicative of a major storm headed our way. Here's Micah with that nose way down the tail.
Mowing the lawn.
That is
right?
what he does. Yes.
So spectacular, so dramatic. That is such a fun thing to watch. Micah Lindstrom, beautiful against that stormy now Wayne, Nebraska sky.
That is right.
Now I'm seeing a beautiful Super Cub, kind of classically painted Super Cub taking off there. Love to see that.
Yeah, this is, I believe this is Keith Lang in the adventure class in that beautiful white and red Piper Cub or Super Cub. Now this is one of the certified Super Cubs, and so the difference between like a carbon Cub and that Super Cub is that one is certified, and so he has less options to modify it. And a beautiful maul taking off.
Yeah,
now.
this is John McCardle. You know, John McCardle came here last year to observe the event and what was going on. He was working on getting his pilot's license, and he said, you know, this is what I want to do someday. He didn't have a plane. He didn't even have a pilot's license. He went out. He stuck to his guns. He kept practicing. Got his license. He he said, I'm looking for a floor place that I can go out and go do my backcountry adventure stuff in, hunting, whatever that might be. He wanted a floor place, and there were only a few options out there as a floor-place airplane to look for. And so he was looking at Bearcats and the mall, and he ended up settling on the mall. And here he is. He followed through with his dream, and this is his first time competing, and my hat is off to him. He did an outstanding job following his dream and made it happen inside of a year. That's outstanding.
Wow, that really, really is a testament to how one can come to a competition, see that it's accessible, and bring an airplane out and do it yourself. That's fantastic.
That's right. That's right. You know, it's not at this point. It's not about win or lose. He's in that stage of learning. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot of hours. He had a tough time after he got his pilot's license. Had a tough time finding somebody to do tailwheel training. And of course, you know, the the COVID stuff doesn't help much with anybody on that. But he finally got through all that. Finally found somebody that would cover him in insurance doing the tail wheel, and he finally got it.
Yeah. Didn't he get his pilot's license just a year ago too?
He did.
Yeah.
He was like right there about his final on the last time when he came here last year. He was just getting ready for his check ride, or just took his check ride. I can't remember. But yeah, right about 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. Beautiful. So he purchased it in Washington last year. He's got already about 100 hours on it in less than 1 year. Fantastic.
You know what? I would be tempted to say he'd have more hours on it, but they actually he had a mechanic working on it, and there was an incident where during a full power run up, it broke loose, flipped over onto its nose, and they had to tear down the engine.
No
so in
way.
that year, with those hours that he got, he had to rebuild the plane also. So talk about perseverance.
Yeah. Here's Micah
Here's
coming
Micah
in.
now on short final.
And you know what happened to Micah right there that Ryan, you didn't see from your studio there, is the winds shifted on right in his flare and kind of caused him to fall out of that. So that's why he rolled out a little bit longer. But he'll work it out. These are challenging conditions all of a sudden. Earlier today, just a beautiful day. And now we've got these shifting winds. Now the winds are pretty much a crosswind now from their right. That's why you're going to see these aircraft crabbing on home.
And to what I believe is the south, not being from this area, the visibility has dropped dramatically as well. So that's another factor when these storms come in. You know, it looks clear forever. Look at this guy crab.
Yeah. This is that certified Super Cub I was talking about. These are the workhorses in the backcountry.
They sure are.
Being easy on those brakes there. You can see him take a bite of them, and maybe a little too much.
Armchair quarterbacking for us is super easy, so we can just say whatever we want. This guy's making it happen.
Yeah, what do you think?
Kept
was
that
that
airplane straight.
believable? Did you buy my
I totally
my
bought
armchair
it.
quarterbacking?
I totally bought it. I like
Yeah.
it.
So dramatic.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you do.
All right, here comes that beautiful maul. He's coming in nice and low on his final approach.
There's been a lot of discussion about these approaches, and there are, you know, as probably has been discussed many, many times, but Steve Henry kind of leading the way on this long and low approach where he wants to get into ground effect and feel the air that he's going to be in. This is a little high right now, but he'll get in there. That way, if a wing does stall out or the plane does stall out because of a gust from behind, a wind shear, he just drops down to the ground and no harm, no foul, and go up and do it again.
Yeah, that's a very good technique. Look at this. A 1 year pilot nailing the landing right there on the line. Beautiful.
That was not a bad landing.
No, that's, you know, quite honestly, I'm impressed.
I am. I am. You know, I don't know that I could do that well in 100 hours with that plane. He's making it happen.
Yeah, I love it. So fantastic. Ryan, we got to get you to come out here and cut your teeth. You want to fly Ghost in one of these?
Oh my! I don't even know how I would react to being able to fly Ghost. That would be amazing.
Let me tell you, Ryan, I'll tell you how it is, because I did all my tailwheel training in all of the newest Carbon Cubs. A friend of mine was a demo pilot, and we went out and did all of my tailwheel training in the Carbon Cubs, and then finished off in a Scout. And so what it feels like is that your heart is pounding out of your chest the whole time because you're flying a house that you can't afford, that if anything were to go wrong, you're about to lose everything you have, and the sweat is dripping down your back. It's a real blast, let me tell you.
You know,
Looks
I
like
haven't
a
experienced
healthy
that.
scratch and a bounce there for that Kit Fox. So wait, I did my tailwheel training in a J3. I like to bring it up every chance I get because training in a J3 makes me superior to all pilots.
Never heard
clearly.
you mention that.
Never heard me mention that.
Never.
But what would it be
once.
like for me to fly a Carbon Cub or similar compared to the J3? I mean, there's a heck of a lot more power.
You have to talk to people who have passed on and went to
Yeah,
heaven.
yeah. You know, I also got my tailwheel training in a J3 and did move
Nice.
up to a Carbon Cub. But I'll tell you, you know, these Cubs, all the Cub derivatives, for the most part, are the world's easiest aircraft to fly, in my opinion. You know, I don't like to, you know, discourage people from learning to fly tailwheel. It's not more difficult. It's just different. There's a little bit going on, and that's just about it. It's just a skill you should learn as a pilot if you want to fly these conventional gear aircraft. But I'll tell you, Ryan, the offer is real for you to fly Ghost in one of these national STOL competitions, and so I am throwing down the gauntlet, brother. I'd love to see this happen, and I will train you. I will be your coach if you'd like that to happen.
Dude, I mean, let's give it how could I turn that down? Let's give it a go. Maybe during one of these practice sessions?
That is way too many words. A simple yes would have done. I'm sitting here next to him.
Oh, be easy on me. Come on.
The envy is just coming right up the floor here across the top of my shoes here right now. It's just unbelievable. Now, I watched this gentleman right here, Corey, at Dead Cow a couple of years ago. It was really too windy for people to be flying, and he's like, I'm going to go out there and do it. And because it's a dry lake, he could pick whatever direction he went. I watched him fly Ghost at probably, I don't know, it looked like 5 miles an hour of forward airspeed, and he would move from one wheel and just sit there and balance on one wheel and go back to the other wheel and back and forth. It was the most impressive thing of flying I've ever seen. Corey, I never told you that. It was a very, very impressive feat of flying there in that wind. The control that you had was just outstanding. So to have an instructor be able, with that kind of skill, show you what to do, a simple yes would have worked.
Well, thanks for the compliment, but I got to tell you, that day the air was super smooth, and honestly, the Carbon Cub, it's just so easy to fly. I can't take any credit.
I've heard that. I was in terror the whole time of my training that something was going to go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't. The planes fly great. They're outstanding.
Yeah.
And the stalls, oh my goodness. Talk about the best characteristics in a stall.
Absolutely. Man,
Okay,
we're starting to...
so Corey,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
nailed
I'll do
it.
it.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
It only took us 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah, I talked him into it. Yeah, you're going to thank me later.
Hey, so Ryan, we'll start at Oshkosh.
That'll
Okay,
be great.
let's do it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a short field.
Our first
There's no
flights. Yeah. No. Actually, I'm going to stage my aircraft at a field adjacent, just outside the TFR at Oshkosh.
Oh, good.
And so I'll take Ryan over there, and we'll get his training started at Oshkosh.
Good. You see John dip that wing into that upwind, just like a perfect pilot should.
Yep, absolutely. And the winds are very, very variable right now. It's almost light and variable, little calm right down the runway. I'd say 5 to 7, which is a real big contrast from 5 minutes ago when we had that gust front coming through.
It certainly is, and it's dying. And actually, the sky is getting lighter to our south. I can't see behind us, but it is getting lighter. Maybe it dumped its rain over there.
Yeah.
It's starting to break up a little bit. That'd be great.
Beautiful.
I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Tim, who just took off in that 1965 Cessna 150 just a moment ago. Flew all the way from Chautauqua, Wisconsin in a 150 to compete. And that's just great to see. This is his first traditional STOL competition. He was at Wayne for STOL Drag last year, and now he's doing National STOL this year as well. So exciting to see.
I remember that, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's got quite a log of experience in flying, like a CFI or airline and stuff like that, a professional pilot. Is that right?
Yeah, he flew for Republic and Northwest Airlines. He's got a lot of experience. Or actually, I think that was his dad that flew for Republic and Northwest. I'm just reading through my notes here. He comes from a farming background, so obviously putting that aircraft to good use, landing in the pastures.
Yes. One thing I will say, and I've met him several times since last Wayne, and he's just a wonderful guy, wonderfully humble, and a pretty good pilot, actually, talking about all this stuff. The one thing that he doesn't have, apparently, in his area is an airplane wash.
That was a sick burn. That was a low blow.
Well, we've talked about it before with him, and the plane looks just like it did last year, and I think that he prides himself on that. It's original.
And
well,
I have the exact
airplane
same
wash
thing.
off in the distance right there.
Yeah, there is. I was joking around with some people around my aircraft this morning as well, and my airplane is very dirty. And somebody mentioned to me, Corey, since I've known you, you haven't cleaned your airplane. And it is true. I haven't cleaned my airplane in a couple of years at least. So I'm the same.
What we do is we clean ours with Steve Henry's plane. We clean it religiously the day after Dead Cow.
Yeah.
There's no other reason, and all it does is just move dirt around. So we don't clean ours either. we spot clean it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
it. There's John McCardle coming in.
Beautiful
That looked pretty
landing.
quick.
Yeah.
Looks like I got off the brakes there and said, I'm good.
Yeah, keep in
Don't
mind,
see the malls too often in the competitions, but when they do show up, they really clean up.
and that's a contrast to what you see in the backcountry. You see malls all the time in Idaho and Montana, in Alaska. They are one of the staples of the backcountry, actually. Very capable aircraft, carry a great load. They're fast, they're safe, they're fun. Just a fantastic aircraft. And here comes Tim. Beautiful landing in that
nice.
Cessna 150. Fantastic.
That was nice. I got to get out here and my 150 or one of my 150s and give him a run for his money, see how it goes. There was a 150 last year ready to come out here and compete with him, but she's not here this year.
I'd kind of like to see that. Ooh, we've got a fun aircraft pulling on to the line right now. This is Jeff in the Beast.
Beast, the Kyle Bushman special.
You know, and quite honestly, I am such a huge fan of the modifier of this aircraft, Kyle Bushman, a master craftsman, very passionate about what he does. And, you know, I would highly recommend Ragwood Refactory for anyone who likes to have a beautiful airplane that's just top-notch. Very talented, you know, and it's just so much fun to see these younger generations. I hate even saying that because I don't feel like I'm one of the non-younger generations,
Right.
but they definitely are younger. But it's fun to see them come in and have that passion for aviation and do really amazing things. And this aircraft is one of those amazing things that Kyle Bushman has put together for his pals here.
Yeah, for Jeff. Yeah, it certainly is. And I've been watching, you know, his stuff on Facebook as well and seen this plane many times. And I think the experimental factor of this plane really makes it super cool.
It is just a monster of an aircraft and just so much fun to watch.
The smoke machines. Oh, my goodness. They
Yeah.
are the most amazing smoke machines I've ever seen on an airplane.
And quite honestly, I think all backcountry airplanes should have smoke.
It's not a bad idea to
Yeah.
identify where you're at.
Yeah.
I've seen that done, and what a great opportunity it is to say, I don't see you, I don't see you. And then they
Two
puff
squirts.
a cup of smoke, a little bit of smoke, and like, oh, now I see you.
There you are.
Yeah.
Beautiful S7 Courier pulling up to the line.
He
That's
almost
Brian
didn't,
Moore,
make
if I'm not mistaken.
Brian Moore, that's right. He flew here from California, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? And
Yeah, Brian's all the way from Lancaster, California,
Lancaster,
and
California.
works
Soon
in
as-
the motion picture industry.
That's right. That's right. He's working on the show 1923, I think, right now. But they ended up had a oil cooler issue yesterday, and ended up needing to do that repair. He got that repair done yesterday and was able to get back in the air today. So that was impressive. He worked on it all day yesterday.
You know,
Brian's also
Brian
got
is
his
kind of a fun
commercial
guy.
rotorcraft.
He used to be a professional bull rider. I don't know if you knew that about
He
him.
mentioned that.
Isn't that
yesterday.
kind of a
He-
fun thing to do?
He did mention that yesterday. I was like, what? Really? I didn't- I
Stuntman,
didn't- I
bull
didn't-
rider, and
didn't realize that.
he's not even that broken.
No, he doesn't appear to be that broken.
I mean,
no.
usually those guys don't live very long.
There was an arm brace in the cockpit of the plane, and I said, "What's that for?" And he said, and then he showed me some surgeries. And then he said it was so hard pulling up the flaps on that thing, the way he adjusted the flap handle, that he ended up tearing it again.
You know, Ryan, I just can't get enough of these trainers, the Cessna 150, the 172, getting out here and cutting it up with the competitors. I love it. Look at the cars on the highway there. What a beautiful Nebraska's just gorgeous.
It really is. It really is. Just wide open land. You can see forever.
Yeah, just great for flying. And, you know, everyone says it's just, you know, it's, what do you hear? It's the flyover state or the drive-through state, but you're missing a lot if you just fly over or drive through. I had a joke. I wanted to try a joke out on you two gentlemen real quick about Brian Moore. You said he, former professional bull rider. That would make him perfect as a pilot because of his turbulence, right? He could handle turbulence real well.
Yeah, I suppose he's used to riding the Bronx and riding the turbulence. You bet.
I would associate it more with a hard landing on rocky surface.
Okay, better. You did better with my joke. I set it up and you you slammed.
Did I ruin it? Darn it!
No. This is we're a team here. So I set and you spike. That's a little volleyball reference.
I'm just an outsider. I don't measure up to you two guys. You guys are awesome.
No.
No. This is actually really a treat for me to hang out with you, Josh. I appreciate you coming into the booth.
That. I am so blessed to be here with you as well.
If I can't be with Ryan, I might as well be with you.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'm kidding, Ryan.
I mean, my feelings are only a little hurt.
Boy, just floated in there.
Oh, that was fantastic. You can watch him bouncing around in the cockpit as he brings it in. Now, see, because he's got a certified Super Cub, you're noticing that he's got the old school bungee shock absorbers on there. We're looking for some relief from the awesome companies that are certifying the modern shock systems for those classic certified Super Cubs. And we're starting to see some movement, which is really exciting. Some of these guys, and the barriers is really cash because it takes a long time to go through that FAA certification process. It's really a challenging business to get into because of all the moving parts, all the different players that are pulling you different directions from a safety and mechanical perspective. It just takes a long time.
Yeah, and hours of testing and proving it. Yeah. That's right. And I like you said, there's been a lot of movement as of Sun and Fun. I believe they got some certified parts for them.
Which is, I'm so excited. I know the crews in Alaska that are putting these aircraft to work for the outfitters and the hunters and also providing critical services to remote villages all over the world. That's really the beauty of these bush aircraft and how we can take them in and out of remote locations. And so having that modern technology, that modern suspension will greatly increase the safety in the backcountry for a lot of these guys. And so I'm really excited to see that innovation.
I agree. You know, being in the experimental category, you've always got that option, but you don't have the option of doing these professional runs or what's considered for higher runs, even if it's just for pennies to try and recoup some fuel costs. You can't do that in experimental. So that's what's nice about them finally moving forward on these. And thank you for those companies out there that are doing that and putting the effort in to make those parts, to make these planes better.
Yep. It's difficult. It's a difficult world. Here we go. Let's look at a traditional trike gear landing. Let's watch that gear flex. Boink. Perfect.
That looked pretty nice. See John Hockla out here underneath the tent, flying big tuna all the way from.
Corey.
I'm going to say the wrong state every time. I'm going to say Washington.
He's from Wisconsin. Corey, you were mentioning before, right? The excitement that you feel when you see something like a Cessna 150, and I think for me, I feel the same way, and it's because it's so accessible. Right? Like there's aircraft are so accessible. They're aircraft that a lot of people learn to fly. And look at Brian Moore now just coming in. He put in a really impressive performance at Outlaw. It was really fun to meet him and get to know him there. But yeah, these Cessna 150s, it's just so exciting to me because aviation, I think, feels like a thing that we all can't participate. We all can't have super decked out experimental, racing machines, but we can all participate. And when you see something like a 150 competing and practicing today, that's part of what sings to me a little bit with it.
Yeah, here comes the conga line of competitors. How fun is this? You know, the Kit Fox just has some interesting lines. Almost looks like a classic airplane with that old round cowling. You're starting to see a lot of the guys put the square cowlings on it now, but I really kind of like the classic look of the round cowlings when they put the old Rotac, the 503s, remember? Right. Back in the day? Oh.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that was just an incredible marketing tool because they used to be square originally on the early Kit Foxes, and I understand that when they originally went to that bump cowl, things weren't going great, financially for the company. They've been up and down. But at the point where they put that bump cowl on at that time during those years, it was the right the right item on the front of that plane, and those planes started flying off the shelf when they changed that cowling, and people loved it at that time. And like you said, it's a little dated now, and they're moving forward on that. And personally, I'm kind of more of a fan myself of something like Trent would have, on his, Trent Palmer on his. I like that kind of more style of cowling myself. But definitely do appreciate it.
All right, we got a competitor from Canada here. This is awesome. Wow, that was a loud one. This is Matheson Fraser.
Is that 180 sound I'm hearing?
Yeah, from Sherwood Park, Canada. He's only 23 years old, from Alberta.
There's Brian Moore now again up to the line, getting ready to get a little more practice in. See how short he can do it this time. Pulling it off. There he goes. Brian Moore works in the transportation department in the motion picture industry. Is kind of cool, responsible for getting everybody everywhere they need to go. And just looking at the weather right now, looking at the radar screen, we do have some precipitation just off to the northwest of the field that's kind of moving further away, further to the northwest. But if we look at the latest METAR, we've got winds 190 at 16 to 20 knots. And boy, it sure looks like that based on the way the flags are flying there in Wayne, Nebraska. Visibility 10. Clouds 65, 75, and 9,000 all broken, and a balmy 81 degrees there in Wayne, Nebraska. So excited to see density, altitude a little bit higher. That's something that we have seen over the course of the competitions this past season. Density altitude is a new thing for some pilots. We had pilots at Outlaw STOL come in from, say, California, where they're lower and cooler into the Arizona desert. And I had one of the competitors who's competing in a sport cup say, man, it feels like my airplane's 300 pounds heavier. So it really can make a difference flying in heat, flying in conditions that are new for you. That's why, of course, we do these practice sessions. We want everyone to start to feel comfortable, make it a little fairer for the people who are flying in from out of town. So really exciting to see everyone practicing. Now, when you go into the competition tomorrow and Saturday, it's going to be a little more uniform, right, in terms of the kinds of aircraft that are flying together. Right now, we've got a good mix of all the various classes flying at once. We try to pair them more based on performance during competition. So you'll see those touring classes. Whoa, looks like we just had a 23-knot gust coming over on the live weather there. Now it's back down to 9 from 194, but man, it's squirrely and pushing hard right now.
Yeah,
so
Ryan, I was about to say that as I was working out some technical issues here, I felt a big gust front come through. We're going to have another one right here. We're going to watch that wind just pop up a little bit. We've got lots of gusts. They're quick ones.
Now, gusty weather, not necessarily ideal for hitting your spot, but wind in general, a STOL pilot's friend, particularly in competition, as long as it's, I guess, headed in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Definitely for a Kit Fox, because being a lighter plane in one of this earlier model Kit Foxes, these guys, they're light. And these gusts of winds can definitely wreak havoc on them, especially if it's a crosswind, like you said.
That was Matt Dorsum in a 1995 Kit Fox 4 from Lancaster, Kansas. Only been flying a couple of years, he says, but bought a Kit Fox halfway through the flight training and got the private pilot license and has been having fun ever since.
And I can vouch for that. I've been watching Matt do some practice runs last 24 hours or so, and he's having a great time, you know, and he flies in a way that you almost see his airplane smiling when he does it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is nice. And I do remember seeing him at one of the other events earlier last year when he kind of unveiled that project there with that beautiful paint scheme.
That was gorgeous.
That was nice from Brian. So when I met Brian, it was at Outlaw STOL in Arizona 2 years ago, I want to say. And he had, every time he took off, the plane, it yawed heavily to one side every time. About 10 feet off the ground, it yawed over to one side. And I ended up going up to him like, what is going on with your plane? Why does it do that? And he's like, well, look at my flap handle. And it's between his legs, but underneath his left leg. And so he has to move his leg out of the way, bend over crooked to pull the flap handle. And I guess that's the original design in this aircraft. And it yawed the plane because it actually shifted his CG every time he went to pull the flaps and let them back out again. It was the most unusual thing. But he's since modified that quite a bit.
Yeah, that sounds not ideal.
No, it's definitely not.
I don't know how that made it past the engineering team.
I don't either. It didn't make any. So I sat in it and I'm like, let me see. And sure enough, it's exactly the way you said it was. It's right behind your leg. In fact, when you're sitting on the ground, you can just scoot your leg back and hit the release button, and the flap would fall down underneath there. But I guess you couldn't. It didn't work under flight because there was pressure on the flap, and it didn't allow it to disengage.
Oh wow.
Now Hal has Hal with the same plane has also moved his handle to a more usable position as well.
I feel like I've seen a lot of
There's
S7s
Jeff.
with the flap handle on the roof.
Whitley.
Absolutely so much fun. You know, it's hard to not let a little giggle out every time you see the beast take off.
Yes, it is a very, very cool plane, very unique. You know, he says, I'm not the shortest taking off. I'm not the shortest landing. I'm not the lightest. And in STOL drag, I'm not the fastest. He said, but I'm going to be entertaining. And that's worked quite well for him, and everybody's loved it.
Here's Matheson again from Alberta, Canada, making it loud. Beautiful takeoff. Got a little bit of a gust to help him out on that takeoff, it looked like.
He did, and I don't know if Ryan can hear that howl of that tip of that prop when he takes off or not.
I can hear it all the way here in the studio, guys. It's
Wow.
earth-shattering. Wow. Look at Brandon Korn now at the line. The giant Cessna 205 dragging the tail and just like barely floating. The way he flies that on the edge on takeoff, I mean, it's such a massive aircraft, and it's always just really milking ground effect for all it's worth.
Yeah, you know, and Brian bringing that big, beautiful Cessna 205 here, I'm just grateful because I love to see the, I keep saying it over and over, but it's just so much fun. And, you know, this is a guy who comes from a competitive background of racing sprint cars, winged sprint cars. And it's similar background as Steve Henry, to be honest with you, you know, because he used to race open wheels.
That's right. Him and Sarah both.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's just really, you know, the competition in his bones. So, you know, that's a classic bring what you got type of scenario. How fun is that?
And he's bringing the family wagon out. And he's making it work. He's made that plane do some amazing takeoffs and landings.
Wow, beautiful there.
That wasn't too bad either.
And the wind completely fell out on him. It almost went completely calm.
That did not help him, and he did a really good job with it.
Yep, absolutely. I'm just watching the crowd over here have such a great time watching these competitors. I see Jimmy O'Neill over there. He's getting ready. Are you going to practice today? No, maybe.
The storm.
Oh, he's waiting for the storm. He's looking.
He's pointing behind us. There must be a storm we don't see, and we're acting all oblivious. Like, everything looks fine. I don't know why he's not flying.
All right, here comes Jeff on his low approach in the Beast. One thing about this airplane, it just seems to smooth out the gusty conditions and just makes it look easy.
I think the Beast is what creates the gusty conditions, as it will Hal Stockman attest to.
Ooh.
You know, it looked to me like he was on the ground 100 feet ago, but those wheels weren't turning, so does that count?
I don't know. Lacey did give him a scratch on that one, but yeah, it's a practice session.
You know, that's an interesting concept, because was he just touching the grass blades but not the ground, because the wheels didn't turn, and so that's weird. It's a kind of unusual situation right there.
Yeah. What are the rules? Is the grass the ground?
That's a good question.
And
so mowing is important.
Ryan, you know this.
What? If it counts, it's just where it touches.
There you go.
But so you would know it touched on a landing because the wheels would spool up right away. But in his case,
but would they spool up if they're holding the brakes?
Ooh, there you go.
Listen, now
they're holding the brakes.
Now he's gaming it. Maybe
it has to be when you touch that first blade of grass. I think it has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I will admit it's usually pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right. We've got the replays in the booth. We can see where it is. It's usually pretty clear. The one that gets hard, I think, where it's hard to tell, is when you've got a crosswind and one wheel is touching down before the other. That can be a little.
Yeah, that is a challenge for
I don't
those
know.
line judges. And we have a big gust coming through right now, as this big, beautiful Brandon Korn 205 comes in. I'm excited to see this one just kick up grass as he locks the brake every time on his landings. It's kind of fun.
Here comes the sink. Nice. Nicely done.
I'm going to go over to some comments in social. I saw Turk182 says, short takeoff. What's the OL part? So it's actually... Go ahead, Corey. You can answer.
Well, it just basically is an acronym, short takeoff and landing. So the O, take off, and the L, landing. Pretty simple. Short is obvious as well.
Sure,
right?
Short makes sense. It does get a little confusing for those who aren't familiar with it, and it's new to even other aviators. They don't, people who are not from this environment, even though they're pilots, maybe even airline pilots. They've never been in this environment, and they may not know what that means.
Yep. Maybe the word "and" is
it's a
what
great
throws
question
them off.
though, because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what that means. I think that's really good.
We could make a new acronym. The three of us could just decide a new one.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time because when people give me creative pass, I just don't use appropriate words.
Yeah, that's fair. Big bounce there. Whoa.
I think appropriate is also, I think they're appropriately descriptive, but maybe not appropriately appropriate. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
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 In the
Brandon Korn's 205 passing by the booth there. One of the reasons everyone wonders how it's so shiny. How did he get it so shiny? And it's so shiny because I'm pretty sure he painted it himself. He owns a body shop, automotive shop. Gotta make sure you show off your work. And here's the guy from Canada who's about to make it loud. He's going to make it loud on the line in just a second there.
So Josh and I just had a visit from Jerry Clemens, one of our event sponsors. Just had a great little reunion. Hadn't seen him in a little while here in the booth. Pretty fun times.
It definitely is. Definitely. He's got family members in these competitions often, so he's about at every event.
Yeah. And it's so fun to see these business owners that support aviation be so passionate about it that they actually show up to the events. That's a rare thing.
It is. You know, he's an aviator himself. His wife is an aviator, if I'm not mistaken, and they make a pretty. They made all the hours of their day are spent in aviation in the business.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Another beautiful certified Cub here. You know, Ryan, there is just few things on this planet better than a yellow Cub.
I mean, we've already talked about how I'm going to brag about flying a J3 Cub once, like 7 years ago, until the day the cows come home. You can't have, I mean, the door open, and in Wisconsin, over the corn, you can smell the manure, which to me smells like home, but maybe not so great to you. But yeah, it's nothing better than a Cub.
Absolutely.
And I just love seeing, you know, watching the cameras here, seeing all of the different aircraft just lined up in the sky. It's really great to see. Here comes that 180 now. Good over the line. He's got that yoke all the way back, getting it stopped. My friends that talked about aviation, every time I announce one of these events for National STOL, they always ask me, which airplane am I going to research for the next 2 weeks about buying? And lately, time and time again, it's been the Cessna 180 for me. I just cannot get enough of the 180.
Yeah, it is a fantastic airplane, Ryan. While we have a minute here, do you want to go over some of our sponsors, since I mentioned a sponsor a moment ago?
Yeah, I could walk you through. I mean, we'll do a list. Let's do a list because it's
absolutely
practice today. We'll just list kind of the people that made this possible. Maybe we can talk about a few of them afterwards. You know, first of all, you talk about Clemens. We also have Ladd Gardner Insurance helping us out. They've been a partner with National STOL since the beginning. Legend Aircraft, Hartzell Propeller, Duke Propellers, a lot of propeller manufacturers on the National STOL train, so to speak. FlightHelmet.com and Lift Aviation USA, both helmet providers in the STOL space. Sarasota Avionics, got to look for them. They're one of the authorized Garmin dealers. They're one of the #1 avionics shops. And then USA Trailers Direct. You're sitting in a USATrailersDirect.com product right now. Rugged Radios, Flying Eyes, Flight Outfitters, AirTech Coatings, McFarlane, and Aero LED, all big providers and helpers of National STOL. And then we got to talk also about Committee Coffee, which is a small batch coffee company that law enforcement owned company, brand new sponsor for National STOL. So that's the list of all the people that work really hard to make sure that National STOL can keep doing what they're doing and giving all these pilots an opportunity to compete and stay proficient.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. And it's fun to hear that list get longer and longer with every event that we put on. Just so fortunate to be able to not just experience this as a pilot who's been doing this for a long time, but you know, it just doesn't get old, and I just appreciate the support. So thank you from myself and the whole National STOL team and all the pilots. A big, huge thank you to our sponsors.
There's that nice bright yellow Kit Fox coming in there, number 27. Oh, I totally misidentified that. That was Jimmy O'Neill in that Rand's S20 Raven. I totally misidentified that. Jimmy O'Neill in the Raven, that yellow, black cowled Rand's S20 Raven. Jimmy O'Neill, I mean, born into racing, right? A big name in the automotive space.
And, you know, he must have went and jumped in his airplane. You know, that must have been what he's pointing at. He was pointing at something behind me in the booth that I couldn't see when I was kind of talking at him when he was in the stands there in the spectator area, and he must have jumped in his airplane and said, hey, you know what? Corey's telling me to go flying, so I'm going to go flying. It'll be fun, kind of fun to see Jimmy put it through the paces today.
Put him on blast.
Absolutely.
Here's Matheson Fraser now on the line again from Canada. I'm looking forward to hearing the roar of the mighty Cessna 180. And he's off. Now he's off. There he goes. Brandon Korn pulling up to the line now in that beautiful 205 I can't stop gushing about. Really fun to watch him fly. He's from Texas, Hearne, Texas. Third generation owner of Korn Collision Center, which was established all the way back in 1948. There he goes. And Dan Renner's in social saying, you guys are doing great with the broadcast. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. I'll send you the $20 in the mail.
I'll
and up to
double
the
that
line
up.
now. Look who's that. Double zeros.
The Dirty Bird, Ryan. Here we go. Jeff Pohl going to put it through the paces. We had a great time on the sandbars this morning with Jeff. And just a unbelievably cool guy to hang out with. So much fun on the STOL circuit here. He's always a pleasure to be around. And seems to be one of the guys that we just have the most fun with. Here we go. Another beautiful Carbon Cub with the belly pod.
I'm telling you, that's an unfair advantage. It's going to be outlawed next year.
Yeah.
Next season.
He's getting a lot of practice runs in this Kid Fox, which is really good to see. I love seeing these guys get out here and just really put it through the paces. Because as you know, during the official competition, they don't get to just keep going around and around and around. It counts.
Yeah, and typically when we have so many competitors, you might only get 3 tries. Right? You might only get 3 attempts around the pattern to put your best numbers forward.
Yep, you get 3 times, and it doesn't matter. The conditions can challenge you. You can have a mechanical issue to challenge you. There's so many things going on with this competition that it is just, well, I guess the word is challenge. Here comes
Corey, I wonder if you wanted to comment real quick about the weather you're experiencing again. I'm looking at the forecast here and looking at the radar picture, and we've got some people commenting on social even that they're 92 miles north and can feel how the storm's brewing for them. How does it feel on the ground in Wayne?
We've got that classic pre-storm feel here. You know how when a storm kind of starts sucking the air towards it and gobbling up all the atmosphere, and so we're definitely planning on getting a good thunderstorm, some thunderstorm activity tonight. From my perspective, though, looking around, looks really good. I'm seeing partly cloudy skies. The camera's not really showing the contrast right now, but I can see a lot of blue sky. But it's it definitely is hit and miss, and the winds are definitely shifting. We are in a storm area right now, so you're absolutely right. And those commenters on the internet are definitely keeping it real for us here. Look at this beautiful 205 approach here. Oh, fantastic.
One of the things that Brandon is really good at doing after watching him over the last couple competitions this year and last year is he's not afraid to, he's got a lot of weight he's managing. He's not afraid to drop it in a little bit and show the durability of that gear. There's a certain thing to be said about transferring that energy into the ground instead of forward. And I think he really shows that off.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a testament to these airplanes and the designs. Here comes Jeff Pohl in Dirty Bird. He's one of our top competitors. Oh, beautiful. Right on the line for Jeff.
I was learning a little bit more about Jeff, doing a little bit of research, trying to find new things to say about him because he's just such a fun guy, such a aggressive competitor. And I didn't know this. I think his first STOL competition ever was he flew himself up to Valdez. And did like the granddaddy of them all right away. That was his first one. So that's pretty incredible. That took bravery.
Absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, he went up there and represented the lower 48 really, really well. Do you remember the results of that contest?
If only I had some sort of device to find out. Let me put a pin in that. I'll figure it out.
you know, Jeff and I were talking about, he actually flew up to Valdez with CC Pocock, and I don't want to ruin it because I'm going to ask Jeff to come into the booth and tell that story because it's a good one about how they fought all the weather and mechanicals and all sorts of issues to make it to that contest. So stick around, folks, on the live stream because I'll go grab Jeff Pohl here in a little bit when he's done flying, and we'll let him tell that story. It'll be a good one.
So if it was 2019,
yep,
it was 2019, then Jeff Pohl in the light touring class at Valdez brought home second place.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely
with
right
a
there.
Combined score of 220, only behind CC Pocock.
Yep, absolutely. Those two guys flew up from the lower 48 and just kind of took over that class and took the top two spots. And then subsequently, you know, Jeff was able to join us at Oshkosh doing the STOL demonstrations for the Twilight Flight Fest at Oshkosh. So, you know, he definitely has proven himself a great stick and a fantastic competitor. And he does put on a fantastic show and demonstration of what his 170 can do. And for the most part, it's stock, but he does take good care of it. It's very well maintained, and it's you know, he's done just about everything you can do to a certified airplane to just make it competitive in this. And boy, he's just had so much success, and it's just so fun to watch. So here we go, watching Jeff line up for his next takeoff. You know, this airplane's been through a lot. You know, when Jeff purchased it, and I know we've told the story, but, you know, he bought it basically as a find, and it sat for about 25 years dormant when he purchased it. So it did take a lot of tender loving care to bring that thing back to airworthiness and into a state where he could have this much fun with it.
And if you're new to National STOL, you know, we're talking about Jeff Pohl a lot. The reason we are is because he is the one to beat. Typically, you know, previously before the class changes in National STOL, he was the one to beat in the light touring class now, and in the backcountry class, you're going to see that mixed up a little bit because now he's got to compete against people like Austin Clemens in the you know, the Husky with the infamous reversible pitch propeller. But Jeff Pohl really just one of the top competitors in National STOL right now, very rarely unseated by the other folks in the class.
We just watched, I believe it was Kyle Patterson flying the Electric Fox as a Kit Fox. Fantastic. What a beautiful day. Now, the sun's just kind of poking out. Now, from my perspective, I still see some threatening storm clouds, but that sun coming out is a good sign for keeping this practice going for a little while longer.
Yeah, seeing a little bit of weather to your west right now. Doesn't look as aggressive as it was earlier when you had those gust fronts coming through, but to the southwest, it's just a big line of storms headed up into into Nebraska. So something obviously everyone's keeping an eye on. We've got, the officials for National STOL keeping an eye on the weather at all times. But as of right now, just a little bit of rain, just a mile or two probably away to the west, and that'll be passing through shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely see that. And here we go. Another beautiful approach. The winds are just steady right now. Let's see what Jeff can do with it. He usually puts on a pretty good show when things calm down. Beautiful landing. It's such a cool looking airplane, the Dirty Bird. Those of you here in person don't. Oh, sorry, Ryan. Those of you here in person don't forget.
Who's on shore final now? But go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to remind everybody to don't forget the sunscreen and stay hydrated. We want you to have a great weekend, and this being one of the first days, well, let's be conscious of that. It's a nice hot day today. Sun is out. Beautiful airplane there. 94 on the tail with those checkerboards.
That's Rick Boardman in that 2015 Carbon Cub. He's the one that Josh, who you just had in the booth with you, Josh was explaining to me all the belly pod aerodynamics. Rick Boardman was the catalyst for that conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Here's that beautiful little electric fox. Just a nice rollout. And what happened with him though is it felt like the wind just went calm and then a huge gust as he finished his rollout, like right there, a 29 knot gust out of the south. That was a really good one there from Jimmy O'Neill. Or is that, wait a minute. I don't think that's Jimmy O'Neill. Because I can see Jimmy O'Neill. Maybe.
Okay, so Corey, I've been talking to the judges in the booth, and I think you're right that I think there's a race number duplication, because that 27 that just taxied by looks more like a Kit Fox than an S20 Raven. It doesn't look like Jimmy's Raven to me. So maybe we have a duplicate race number issue there. But
yeah, I think so. I was one of the reasons why I went quiet is I started looking into it myself, and I don't see much information on this Kit Fox. So I'm really excited to go talk to him and get to know him a little bit and find out a little bit more about him. It'll be kind of fun.
Just got the information from the booth. That would be Harry Bio. He pronounced it for me 3 times in my ear. Now I said it wrong. Harry Biopure in a 2020 Kit Fox 4, which lines up more with what we were seeing. He's a charter pilot out of Fallon, Nevada, and he flies for STOL Drag. So that might be where the numbers being duplicated are coming. He's been flying for 25 years, though, so I'm sure we'll see some fun out of him later.
Absolutely. That'll be great. Well, here he comes. Once again, what was that name again? I'm going to write that down so I can...
Harry Bio. Sorry, Harry. Harry's going to listen to this later and be so mad at me. Harry Biopure.
Biopure. And so I'm going to actually make a note here.
Bupre, maybe? Maybe it's Bupre. Harry, let us know. Sorry, Harry.
I'll go talk to him and get to know him. That'll be kind of fun. There's Joseph Card in that beautiful orange and silver Kit Fox Model 7. He's only got a couple of years flying experience, but you can't tell by what he's doing. It's just really a fantastic pilot. And, you can't beat the color orange. It's my favorite color on an airplane.
A lot of positive comments about that paint scheme on social as well. People loving that orange and gray color scheme. So you're not alone.
Absolutely. A lot of great comments. We got a gentleman from the UK commenting on the rain and the storm that's just to the northwest of us. And I have a beautiful, beautiful view of that storm cell. It looks like it's just kind of stalled right now, which is good news for these competitors as we watch Jeff Pohl come in and fight these variable conditions, but squeak in a gorgeous landing there. And that's one of the things that we're going to be having as a consideration all weekend, it looks like. The weather, the forecast has changed almost by the hour as we gear up and as we're preparing to put on the show and get these competitions lined up. It's definitely going to impact us this weekend in some way. So stick around on the live feed and see how that all plays out. And here comes Rick
Here's
again.
Rick Boardman now.
That was exciting, Ryan.
That was a good one by Rick there.
That's exactly how to do it. He wanted to not lose a little bit. Looked like he had a little bit of energy to spare, and you notice about 3-4 feet off the ground, those flaps come up, and boy, that airplane came right down with it.
I'm just enjoying looking at our live weather readout on the broadcast here. Wind's really picking up. Now it's saying winds 21 knots. Give or take 21 knots. It's kind of popping around that 20 range. And the forecast is switched to just windy.
Right. Here comes that beautiful yellow Kit Fox again. I'm just going to call it what it is. And this is Harry flying the Kit Fox. Not even going to touch that last name, but he's from Nevada, so he's come a long way in that airplane. But he's been flying a long time, 25 years. Or actually, that's the wrong airplane again. Ryan, I need your help.
2 yellow Kit Foxes at once. I think that was Kyle Patterson.
That's right. That one was Kyle. As soon as I saw the side of his airplane. It's hard to tell from the front when they both look identical. But now I know that Kyle's coming in first. And Kyle's actually from Torrington, Wyoming. Beautiful place, right on the border of this beautiful state, Nebraska. So he didn't come too far, just only one state away. And this is Harry coming in for a landing. Nice low approach here. We'll see if he nails the line. Nice. Looking over
I'm going
at
to say it's
Lacey.
Beaupre. Harry Beaupre. It rolls off the tongue real nice. That's Harry Beaupre in 27.
Harry. Looking good, Harry.
And we're just listening now, just listening to the great sound of that aircraft coming in.
Yeah, that beautiful airplane is, just looks like he's done with his practice. But Joseph did a really good job on this airplane. Just a beautiful example of an aircraft that you can own at a very affordable price.
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of research on the Kit Fox series, and the cost of ownership on them is just really surprisingly low.
Yeah.
Once you pay for it.
All right, on camera right there. We've got Kyle Bushman in the Backcountry Super Cub coming in. Miss America's coming in. We've got some of the heavy hitters. Steve Henry in that Highlander XL's rolling out to the line. Whole new crew ready to go here, trying to get in their practice time. This is just going to be so much fun. Now, look at the diameter of Steve's propeller blades. It's amazing. I'm going to turn off my mic so you guys won't get blown out.
Seeing Steve's giant propeller, the other thing that you'll see him do new this season is the small kind of knobby ATV tires, just for better stopping control. And then I believe that's Gary Varga off in Miss America. That airplane, 2012 World Aircraft Company aircraft, that's like a one of one. It's not one of like two. It's like a very rare aircraft to see. So really cool to see that. We saw him first compete at Sodbusters in Hartford, Wisconsin, just before Oshkosh. He flew all the way to Wayne from Burlington, Wisconsin. He flies off his grass strip at Camp Lake Airport. That's 49 Charlie, if you want to look it up in Garmin Pilot or ForeFlight or Sky Vector, whatever your poison is. Kind of cool to see him still flying around. And now here goes Steve Henry, and just levitating off totally like it's nothing. That's Steve for you.
Yeah, that's just making it look easy and throwing down the challenge gauntlet for the other guys in the spectator area watching. They're also hungry for that unlimited title.
Well, and let's be real, even Steve Henry can scratch.
Absolutely,
so
especially
everyone makes mistakes.
Yes, and these conditions can be an equalizer this weekend, and so I'm really excited to see, what the outcome is of the weekend, and watching all three of these guys. We've got Dan Reynolds from Canada, just back from Valdez, had a great time up there, and this weekend we've got just a fantastic lineup of all the rock stars of STOL and a lot of newcomers. So it's just a really fun weekend this weekend. I like the word weekend.
How was your weekend? Fine, thank you.
It's turning out great.
Get a little wave. I see in the broadcast now our folks in the booth. Hello, everyone in the booth in the control room.
Working
making
hard.
Sure that everything's going well.
All right, here comes Miss America. Gary is just such a fun pilot to watch. Only been flying for a few years, so still fairly new. But, you think about the level of competency that events like this build in pilots. Gosh, I just really wish this kind of thing was around when I was a new pilot. That gust just took his approach right out from underneath him. And great recovery by Gary there. Oh yeah, I can actually feel the wind inside the booth, just burning in through the holes in the booth. And yeah, you know what? We got some social media comments. He is still using those small knobby tires, and the reason for that is it does give him that a little bit of an advantage in the braking. He tells me, because he's put some tread on there, and so when he hits the brakes, definitely is effective. And now we got a beautiful stabilized approach. I believe this is Kyle Bushman as he comes in that beautiful backcountry Super Cub. And Kyle is, he's also a new pilot. He's been flying, I don't know, for, 5, 6, 7 years now. And just so much fun to watch these guys just build their skill levels and even exceed the skill levels of some of the long-time pilots like myself even. It's just kind of fun to see. Beautiful landing.
So,
and a challenging gust there, too, for Kyle. You can't see that on the live feed, but a big one just came through right as he was in his flare.
Corey, I had a question for you about those knobby tires. When I think about big tires, like the big fat Alaskan bush wheel style tires, obviously made by a lot of different people, obviously provide some cushion, but it also is providing some AOA advantage, right? You've got your front end is higher up. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's not a problem for Steve to lose that. And that might have been a scratch right there. People are saying, oh, Steve Henry scratches. That might have been a scratch right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you notice, if you look at Steve's aircraft there, he actually made his landing gear longer to compensate for the reduction in diameter of his tires. And so he didn't lose anything on his angle of attack. And, and I'll be honest with you, when you look at something like Yeehaw 8, where you've got a super plane, he doesn't necessarily need to have that angle of attack. But again, we're talking about Steve Henry here. So he is not about, he's not above getting the welder out and manufacturing a new set of landing gear in an afternoon just to play with it and see if it works. And that's the kind of guy he is, and that's why he is so competitive. I've been in his shop, and there are experimental parts laying around everywhere that he has tried just about everything to get the edge. He is such a competitor, so willing to experiment, so willing to innovate. A lot of these guys are, but Steve is definitely on that knife's edge. And now we're having another big gust come through. That is just a beautiful Kit Fox. I just love that paint scheme.
Yeah, I just heard in my ear 27 knots on that last gust. So it's getting a little sporty, a little aeronautical out there. Very exciting.
And Gary would be able to tell you all about it on his last landing. So let's hope he gets a little bit of relief on this next one as he lines up in Miss America. Such a fun airplane to see. It looks like it's pretty fast. I got to go talk to him about the not the backcountry or the STOL performance, but I'd like to hear about how it cruises and how he travels in it. Bet you it's a pretty fun airplane.
And I'm wondering if it's named after the famous P-51 Miss America.
Ooh, I'll ask him, and I'll let you know tomorrow. All right, here he goes. That was a fantastic takeoff. If you have not stood next to one of these backcountry Super Cubs, they're giant airplanes for a Super Cub. It's just like they took the Super Cub design and scaled it up. They're just so much fun to be around. And this is a beautiful airplane. If you have an opportunity to get up and up close and look at it, it's just a fantastic example of what you can do if you're an innovator. And here's Steve Henry. I'm going to actually come off the mic so you guys can hear the crazy amount of RPMs that he pushes. I was gonna just for fun count off his takeoff in my head And I believe it was less than a second takeoff roll. I'm going to get a stopwatch out. That would be kind of a fun metric.
I mean, in the right wind, I believe it was 2 Outlaw STOLs ago, I saw Steve Henry take off in 6 feet.
Probably with his brakes locked. It's just so funny to watch him sometimes take off with his brakes locked and he just skids it across the grass. And one of the things that's different, talking about his tires, one of the advantages that he has having a little bit of tread on there, on this grass, the smooth bush wheels actually slide a little bit more and don't give you that positive braking that maybe a tread tire would. And I know he's tested that extensively at his home airport in Caldwell, Idaho. So it's, we've definitely are getting a master class on all the little modifications you can put into an airplane to match the conditions. And that's one thing that Steve is a master of. He will show up at a competition and he knows whether you're landing on asphalt or whether you're landing on dirt or whether you're landing on grass. He has a setup for each and every circumstance. And here's Miss America.
So a big healthy scratch there for Gary, but again, the wind's getting really squirrely. You asked earlier, Corey, about what the cruise speed of that aircraft is, and if the Wikipedia is serving me correctly right now, it's got a cruise speed of 110 miles an hour, but a stall speed of 27 miles per hour with the flaps down, which is funny. I wouldn't expect that slow of a stall speed by looking at it.
You know, that is a fantastic flight envelope for any aircraft, if you ask me. That is just amazing that it can get that slow. The sun just came out perfectly to put a good light on Kyle Buschmann's approach. Crosswind is pretty much directly from the right, but almost calm. Just kind of fell out. So beautiful landing here for Kyle Buschmann.
You know, one of the other things we could talk about with Steve Henry, and then I'm wondering if you could hit on, because you've had experience with both types of STOL competitions, is if I'm not mistaken, he's switching the setup of the aircraft between STOL drag and the national STOL format.
You know, that wouldn't surprise me. I have not had an opportunity to see that today because we have not yet had a national STOL and a STOL drag at the same event. So, you know, if that's the case, Josh that was just here in the booth is going to have, and Steve and his whole crew is going to have a very busy weekend reconfiguring that aircraft depending on the conditions. But, you know, I have a feeling that's something they're used to doing anyway because you just don't see Steve not busy ever. We just got a huge gust in, feeling that on my back. I don't know if that's going to represent on the screen, but we just got a pretty good one. And then it just kind of fell right out. And that's, so you're seeing his, you know, that's a long rollout for a Super Cub. But, you know, these conditions are definitely challenging these competitors and making it fun. And you know, it's no different from flying in the backcountry. So that's why, you know, just because the wind picks up or the weather's not ideal, we don't stop the competition because this is natural. This is how it happens in the backcountry. And
do they want to be the world's greatest STOL pilots or not?
Absolutely. This is a proving ground. This is our training. This is our school. This is our fun. And it does make you a better pilot. Absolutely.
Got Gary Varga coming up to the line again now for his third time around. Sorry, Corey, go ahead.
No, that's okay. We do have a little bit of a delay between you and me, so I apologize. I just get so excited about saying something.
We were talking about modifications. I was thinking one of the things to talk about too is that you'll see unique at Wayne, as we do have national STOL happening in the same area as STOL drag. Those things are happening back to back. So we've got people like Steve Henry that have to make modifications, but you're also going to see it on other aircraft too. I think you'll see the Legend aircraft will be pulling their slats off for STOL drag, putting them on for us. Hal Stockman, what I've heard is that he's going to be making a lot of prop tweaks right, between STOL drag and national STOL. So definitely something. The two formats are very different in terms of how people compete, and it's cool to see people have to adjust day to day and heat to heat to make sure they're putting their best foot forward. Speaking
Wow.
of best foot forward,
Yeah.
there
That
goes
was-
Steve again.
That was just spectacular. I believe that was his best takeoff yet today. I don't even think he made it to the 25-foot mark. You know, it's really fun to see Rick just out here. I don't know how many takeoffs and landings he's done, but he's got to have been out here well over an hour. He's just putting in the work. That is dedication right there. I love it. Okay, I've got my fingers crossed for for our buddy over here in Miss America. He's had some interesting conditions on each of his approaches.
Feels like, looking at those flags, like it's coming in a more favorable direction towards him, and wind now dying down really aggressively, 5 knots. And now 14 knots. So what's the old pilot rule? Take that gust factor, divide it in half, and add it to your approach speed. Holding it off and bouncing it in.
That was much better, though.
Yeah. Gary, one of my favorite things about watching him compete at Sodbusters is it was hot. And he was just like, you know what? We're going shirtless. He was just rocking it, going out hard. We've also seen him participate locally. As you know, I'm from the Milwaukee area of Wisconsin, and Gary's not too far away. So we've seen him at local spot landing competitions. He just really loves to get out there and work his plane.
And he's a real people person, just a fun guy to be around, very personable, just a fun opportunity. If you ever get a chance to meet Gary, he's definitely willing to talk about his airplane, and you know, if you're new to aviation, I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. And Kyle Bushman puts on a great performance with his landing in that challenging condition. The winds are just falling out on these competitors. We'll see how Steve Henry handles it here. We've got, you know, between 6 and 10 knots or something right now, and then a little gust. You know, watch his flaps.
Yeah, just retracted immediately.
Boom. Yeah, just so much fun to watch the different skill sets and techniques.
Corey, I'm going to step away from the mic just briefly, so I'll leave this in your capable hands. I will be back in just a moment. Everyone, keep checking out this exciting action here at Wayne. Man, the weather for a practice. It's like everyone's putting their lead shoes on before the race.
Absolutely. Now, Colin Caneva getting some practice time in. Another round of competitors. We got Brian Steck. These are all the guys we went flying with this morning. We went down to into the rivers here in Nebraska. Went down to the North Platte River. Found some sandbars and some beaches. Had a great time this morning. And you know, and that's what this competition is really all about. It's about doing this, the short takeoffs, the short landings, getting your practice done on beautiful open areas, no obstacles, nice, flat, and smooth. But then you take that stuff into the backcountry and you're a lot safer, a lot more capable. You've had the practice, you've had the training. Here's Colin Caneva proving that to be true. And I think I'm going to go help Colin repitch his propeller. He wasn't getting a lot of RPM out of that. So, so I don't know quite what happened, why he pulled his power back. But he definitely did not get up to RPM on that one. We'll see what happens. Now, Brian Steck, And the beautiful Legend Cub. This is one of my favorite airplanes in the circuit. Just is so beautiful and well crafted. Just a fantastic example. Brian comes from Texas, I believe the northeastern part of the state, where he is no stranger to sandbars and having a great time. In the alpine area of Texas, a lot of pine in his area. Just a beautiful country over there. And here's Rick again, putting in the work. Skies down to the south are looking good, partly cloudy that direction. What a beautiful day for some STOL. All right, on his base leg out there. Oh, there's a beautiful shot of Rick Borman on his downwind leg. There's few things on this planet finer than a yellow Super Cub. Just absolutely love it. Another big gust coming through for Brian. You can see him kind of crabbing sideways as he makes his final approach into National STOL. I am just told from the booth that it's Rick Boardman's airplane, but Eddie Sanchez is up there having some fun in the Cub. So, and here we go with Brian Steck just hanging it on that prop. Beautiful landing from Brian. Less than 50 feet in the Legend Cub. Fantastic performance from Brian Steck. Okay, and now we've got Jimmy O'Neill in the Cub. This is kind of fun to see these guys just jumping in each other's airplanes and having a great time. I'd love to hear the story behind what's going on, but you know, just pilots having a great time, having fun with each other's airplanes. It's practice time, so we're loving every minute of it. Beautiful shot across the line there. Got some of our race officials. We're still setting up for the show. For all these competitions, there is a lot that these volunteers and the team at National STOL put into this. They show up days before the event, start putting out the infrastructure, laying things out, making it safe for everybody, the spectators, the pilots, the crews, the workers, providing the food service and the merchandising. It's a big operation out here in Wayne, America, Nebraska.